that'll benefit the entire world.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to point out, I mean, look at the co-founder of Google. Google, one of the largest companies, changed the entire web. He was from Russia. The founder, Eduardo Saverin, who invested the money in Facebook. He was from Brazil, and Yahoo, Jerry Young was from Japan. So immigrants always shape our life, and giving people the power of freedom unlocks so much human potential that we don't even know what to do with it yet.
Yeah, and looking at this, maybe some sort of timeline. When would be the first island opening, seasteading opening? When would it be? Like 2025? More years down the road?
For Blue Sea, the one that'll be the office building outside of San Francisco, the goal date is 2013.
Oh, wow.
So
like completed, like construction, or started construction?
Well, no, it'll be completed construction. Mind you, this will be a simple one. It'll hold 1,000 people on it. It's only going to cost $10 million to build. Funding's already in part being raised. In fact, I'm going to be interning for Blue Seed when they come to Manhattan to look for some venture capital funds to help them out. So really, I think that's one way to really look at this thing.
Yeah. And let's look more at the business aspect. And you bring up the capital and bring up how much this, thing is going to be cost to make and everything like that. How would you think these new, I wouldn't say societies, but maybe like, again, these islands being brought up, how would you see it's going to be helping the U.S. economy out, not even our economy, but the world economy out, if you want to touch upon that?
Well, the thing is, if you keep someone in Africa their whole life, if you keep someone in a place where there's no opportunities, there's no freedom, you're not going to get anything from their human resources. If you give them freedom, if you give them education, they're going to have the skills and the power from the freedom that the seekers are giving them to make it so that they can innovate and they can change the world. I mean, Steve Jobs, I'm not totally sure what country his father was from. I forgot what nationality he was, but he did. But he was also an immigrant, and most likely, I know the country was not the wealthiest country, but we might never have had Apple computers if it wasn't for the ability to immigrate to a more free location.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it's going to be a pretty good thing. Like you're right, for immigration, for others, and for the economy. Because I also see it as, if let's say somebody's seasteading, like you brought up, in the continent of Africa. If we put some of these seasteading out there, maybe really close to the coastline or around it, it can really prosper some of the towns that have been impoverished for so many decades. And
what I would love to see is, I would love to see us go to a third world country, say, here's your opportunity, here's your chance to escape all of this. Let's come here, be free. Almost like Willy Wonka with the Oompa Loompas to a degree. Looking at my own family origin, my great-grandfather was from Sicily. He was an orphan. He came to this country when he was younger than me, when he was 16 years old, all alone pretty much, with just like a couple of people that he knew. And from that, he opened up a shoe store, and he ran the store for 20 years, and he became successful, built a house, built a life. And he had my grandparents, and then my grandparents had my parents, my dad, who is a doctor now. So that's one way to really look at it and see how leaving your current society, leaving your current world, and moving to another government structure can really change things for you.
Yeah. And again, I would really, really, really love seeing, again, as you said, trying to free some of these people from, wherever they're at, into a better opportunity. Can you also see some of these seasteading places also to be used maybe as like medical facilities, hospitals, by maybe prone to earthquakes and tsunamis and stuff?
Well, there are some countries that actually have, to medical tourism, there are some countries that already have things called abortion boats, where they basically come in, they say to people, to women who want abortions, we can take you 12 miles outside of this country and we can perform an abortion on you. No government has ever questioned the legality of it, but they'll try to prevent it so those boats can come in. That's for sure, but still nobody's ever questioned the legality of it. So I could definitely see experimental drugs for the FDA, and that's another great thing right there. If you look at so many diseases, AIDS, AVN, all these diseases, they have cures for them years before, and the FDA was not allowing them through because of fears they were going to give some people a tummy ache. So the best way I look at it is that we can make a fortune off of medical tourism. I mean, I guess California would not be the best place for it, but allowing people to smoke pot outside of the water, I'm sure that could generate some money.
Yeah. Look, me personally, I have my political views that, we should be ending the war on drugs or whatever. And look, if that's going to make them money on the seasteaders, so be it. But, if it was my little idea.
I'm a volunteer for the Gary Johnson campaign, so I think my views on the war on drugs are pretty cemented. So yeah, I mean, I want the war on drugs abolished, but you know what? If the U.S. is going to be stupid and make it so that they still want all these things illegal, which doesn't help, then why can't a seasteader make some money off of it?
Yeah, make some good money off that. And again, like that kind of rounds us back to the topic of you see, like, if a seasteader should originate from, let's say, the United States, would they be subjected to United States laws? Or so I'm guessing they wouldn't.
They would not.
So I know this is like stretching it, but this is not stretching. So they wouldn't be under the United States Constitution.
No, they would not. If you go, think of it like this: Cuban cigars in this country are illegal. Yet, if you go to Turks and Caicos, if you go to the Caribbean or some country where Cuban cigars are legal and they're allowed to trade with them, you can smoke them all you want. So that's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. Because that's what I'm thinking of then. Yeah, because I guess these places would be basically independent entities then. They would be on the international waters, but they wouldn't serve any allegiance to one nation or the other, but they would be able to if they want to, right?
Yeah, I mean, these are totally independent governments. I mean, the one fear I think we're going to have, and this is going to be an issue that I bet you will be brought up soon, is will the seastead be taxed? Will the government try to propose a tariff on a seastead, some sort of fee? And now, I don't think that'll happen unless we really start to just steal all the government's business. But it's always a fear that we're going to have to deal with. Yeah.
So, like you said, you're worried about taxes and also tariffs. Is that what you said?
Yes, tariffs, I believe, can be a legitimate fear to this. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think, well, maybe not tariffs. I'll have to really look into that. But, yeah, I'm sure the government's going to try to install some sort of tax because I honestly don't think, to the water world thing brought up earlier, I don't think that they're going to try to spend money to destroy us. They're just going to try to make money by attacking us.
Yeah.
By taxing us, sorry.
Yes.
There's a difference between taxing and attacking.
Taxing and attacking is almost the same thing, right?
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, the difference is one's physically harming you and the other is threatening to physically harm you unless you give them something. So that's, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's one of those things, I was thinking of then, like, I think, thinking of tariffs, I think it would, because if you guys would be, let's say, making, I don't know, some sort of crop, and then bring it into the United States seeing that their businesses are getting hurt because, let's say, I don't know, some sort of event, some bad season for them, but good season for you guys. I think they have a right to put a tariff.
Well,
would it be good practice now?
Well, it'll be a bad. Well, being a libertarian, you know as well as I do, that tariffs just hurt their economy. But they have they have the absolute right to put a tariff on something that we they have a right to do that, and we'd fully understand if they wanted to. We just don't think it would be necessary. But if there's a country that is a protectionist country and they're pretty much putting tariffs on anyone, it would be totally understandable, and we wouldn't have any problem with that. Our big issue is them saying, "Oh, we want to tax you 10%," or that we want full taxes on you. So that's one fear.
But I'm thinking and maybe you think of this as well. Since these islands we basically built in international waters, then they really don't have a right to do that, don't they?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Since these islands we built on in international waters, then government doesn't really have a right to tax you then.
They don't have a right to tax us, but the thing that government is, whenever it can come to them getting more money and taxing people, they'll always try to do it.
Yeah, they'll always try to do it. Then what would your response be to that? Would maybe you guys what would you do? Like make a petition or something? How would you respond to something like that?
Well, my personal advice would be, now I'm not saying this will be what happens, but my personal advice would be just don't pay the taxes, because they won't do anything if we don't. Or just give them a nice little basket of chocolates and say, "Oh yeah, here you go, here you go. It's nice. This is our welcoming gift as you being our neighboring government."
Yeah. And what happens if a war should break out or something? Let's say you're not by such a friendly nation like the United States, if you're right by Somalian pirates.
Well, I would want to see. First off, anyone who would be stupid enough to put a seastead right outside of Somalia, I think they deserve to be conquered. But really, that's a 1 in 1 million situation right there. But if it did happen, what I'd imagine is that they wouldn't do it simply because we provide no real resources for them to steal from us. And we would basically just get out and then sink the ship. So they wasted their guns, they wasted perhaps lives, and they wasted all of this just so that we can sink the ship and they get nothing out of it.
Yeah. And talking about
wait, in fact, a friend of ours, Rob. A friend of mine, Rob Gray, right?
Who?
Rob
I
Gray.
do. Yeah.
Mark.
When I first met Rob in Washington D.C. a couple of years back, we were in a program together for young people in Washington D.C. And I was not in the same group as Rob, but he can tell you because I was telling him about it right afterwards. We had to do a situation where a U.S. boat is being invaded by Somalian pirates, and I was actually trying to come up with ideas on what to do. And I don't know if this is fate for what will be coming in the future in my later life, but it always could be. But I was there, and I suggested we don't do anything because we just strap bombs to the boats, so we'll sink the ships if they try to get more hostages. So they basically wasted gunpowder and so on, and that was my whole thought right there. It wasn't well received by others. It wasn't well received by others, but it certainly did leave. But that's sort of how this relates to that.
Mhm. Yeah. And talking about another point here, and again more talking about defense and all of that. Let's think about maybe your ideal island, Seasteading.
Well,
yeah, what would it be?
Well, this is no reflection on the Institute. The Seasteading Institute is totally politically neutral. As for what my ideal government is, I would like